Hello and welcome back to Curious Breed. Today we are diving into the ancient powerful tale of King Harishchandra, a story of truth, sacrifice and relentless integrity. This tale has inspired generations with its portrayal of one man's unwavering commitment to truth even when faced with impossible choices. So if you are fascinated by stories that challenge us to live better and think deeper, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to Curious Breed. Now let's get into this unforgettable story of King Harishchandra. So our story begins with King Harishchandra, a ruler renowned for his dedication to truth and justice. His name was synonymous with honor and his word was as unbreakable as his sword. Yet, as fate would have it, this very commitment to truth was about to lead him down a path of sorrow and struggle. So in a moment of devotion, Harishchandra made a vow to Lord Varuna, the god of water, promising to sacrifice his firstborn in exchange for Varuna's blessings upon his kingdom. At the time, he hadn't realized the weight of this vow, nor did he anticipate the heartache that would come with it. But as years passed, his son Rohita was born, filling the king and the queen's life with immense joy. Now, when Varuna came to collect his due, Harishchandra's heart faltered. Could he really give up his beloved child? How could he break a bond even to uphold his own promise? Driven by love for his son and desperation to avoid the sacrifice, Harishchandra devised a series of clever yet increasingly desperate excuses to buy himself some time. So the first time when Varuna approached him, Harishchandra responded with a gentle but firm excuse saying, "Oh Lord, my son is still a newborn, fragile and barely accustomed to the world. It is customary to allow the first 10 days after birth to pass in peace and rest for the child's well-being. Please grant me those 10 days so he may grow a little stronger." Varuna felt this was a fair ask and agreed, for he too respected the ancient traditions. But as days passed and Harishchandra's love for his son deepened, he knew that he could not part with him so easily. So he began to search for another excuse to delay. Now when Varuna returned after the 10 days, Harishchandra was ready with another justification. "Lord Varuna, it is said that a child should be allowed to grow and develop certain physical traits before any sacrifice is made. My son has yet to grow his first teeth. Until then, he remains too young and vulnerable for such a serious act. Please allow him time until his teeth emerge." Once again, Varuna agreed, granting Harishchandra more time. But as the months turned into years, Harishchandra's heart grew more attached to Rohita, and the prospect of fulfilling his promise became more painful. Each time he saw his son's innocent smile, he felt his resolve weaken and he knew he had to delay it once more. As Rohita grew older, Varuna returned yet again, reminding Harishchandra of his promise. This time, Harishchandra took a different approach. "Oh Lord Varuna, my son is growing into a strong young man, but he still lacks the skills to face his destiny. In our tradition, a prince or kshatriya must first learn the art of warfare. He must be trained in archery, swordsmanship, and the duties of a warrior. It would be unjust to sacrifice him without allowing him to become a true kshatriya. Grant me time so I could prepare and fulfill his role with honor." Varuna reluctantly agreed to this request as well. But as more time passed, Rohita became a skilled warrior capable of defending himself and his kingdom. Harishchandra knew that he was running out of excuses. As Rohita continued to mature, Harishchandra presented yet another reason. "Oh Lord Varuna, as the crown prince and only son, Rohita has responsibilities to his royal family and the kingdom. He must perform various rituals, learn the sacred texts, and participate in ceremonies for the prosperity of our people. It would be improper to remove him from his duties before he has fulfilled them. Please allow him more time to serve our kingdom and perform his dharma. Once more, Varna showed patience, allowing the delay. But by now, Harishchandra was deeply aware that he could not evade his promise forever. Varna's patience was wearing thin, and Harishchandra was running out of justifications. Each time he delayed, his inner conflict grew, knowing that he was bound by honor, yet torn by love. Finally, in one last effort, Harishchandra pleaded with Varna again, saying, "Lord, my son has now reached an age where he must be prepared for adulthood. It is only right that he experiences marriage and fulfills his duty to continue the royal lineage. Please allow him time to wed, to bring joy to his family and kingdom before I must fulfill my promise." But this time, Varna was no longer willing to wait. He had given Harishchandra every opportunity to fulfill his vow, and yet the king continued to delay. The god of water issued a final warning, threatening dire consequences for Harishchandra's kingdom if the promise was not honored. As Rohita grew older, Harishchandra finally revealed the vow he had made to Varna. Rohita, upon hearing this, was horrified. Unable to face the prospect of being sacrificed, he chose a path of survival. He fled from the palace, wandering from place to place, determined to escape the fate his father had unwittingly set for him. During one such travel, he encountered a poor Brahmin sage named Ajirgata. Ajirgata was struggling to feed his family, burdened by poverty and desperation. Seeing the plight of the sage, Rohita proposed a painful yet beneficial deal. If Ajirgata would allow one of his sons to be offered as a substitute sacrifice, Rohita would provide the Brahmin with enough wealth to lift his family out of poverty. Ajirgata ultimately agreed to the arrangement. He decided to offer his middle son, Shunashepa, as the sacrificial substitute. Shunashepa, although young, was willing to accept his father's decision, understanding that this would help the family survive. Now Rohita returned back to the kingdom with Shunashepa as the sacrificial substitute, prepared to finally fulfill his father's vow to Varna. As the sacrificial rituals began, Varna appeared and claimed Shunashepa as the promised offering. However, the situation soon escalated. The priests gathered for the rituals hesitated, fearing the consequences of sacrificing a Brahmin's child, a son of a sage that too. They believed that it would bring upon a curse upon them, stating that their hands would rot and fall if they bound the boy to the sacrificial post. Seeing their reluctance, Ajirgata himself, desperate to uphold the agreement, stepped forward and offered to bind Shunashepa. He even agreed to wield the sword, provided Rohita gave him twice what he had initially promised. Now Rohita agreed, and the heart-wrenching ritual began with Ajirgata preparing to take his own son's life. As Shunashepa lay bound, gazing up at his father who held the sword, the crowd looked on in horror. A father was preparing to kill his son to fulfill another father's vow. The tension was palpable, and people averted their eyes, fearing the wrath of the gods. In his final moments, Shunashepa whispered a prayer to the sun god, Surya, pleading for salvation. At that very moment, Surya intervened. Just as Ajirgata raised his sword, Shunashepa's prayers reached the heavens. The sword crumbled in Ajirgata's hand, and sunlight poured over the sacrificial altar as Surya's voice echoed in the air, condemning the situation. The sun god's message was clear: but fierce. By refusing to sacrifice your own son, you have created a void, and now the universe is trying to fill that void with another father's son. With Surya's intervention, the ritual was halted and Shunashepa was spared. Harishchandra was left to face the reality of his actions. In his attempt to fulfill his vow while protecting his own son, he'd almost caused an unimaginable suffering to another family. Surya's condemnation struck with him deeply, reminding him that the path to truth and righteousness is not just about fulfilling promises, but also about compassion and sacrifice. Realizing the moral complexity of this vow, Harishchandra had to confront his actions and the consequences of his choices. This moment of divine intervention served as a powerful lesson, underscoring the need for balance between duty and compassion. Just when it seemed that the situation had no resolution, sage Vishwamitra stepped forward. Moved by the plight of Shunashepa and the heartache of Ajirgata, Vishwamitra offered to adopt Shunashepa as his own son. He declared that Shunashepa would live under his protection, receiving guidance, love, and a future in his ashram. With this act, Vishwamitra not only saved Shunashepa but also offered Harishchandra a way to redeem himself. Shunashepa's life was spared, Ajirgata's family was saved from starvation, and Harishchandra was reminded of the true nature of dharma, a path that must be guided by empathy as much as by duty. The story of Harishchandra and Shunashepa holds profound lessons for us. It teaches us that integrity and compassion must coexist in every action. Harishchandra's initial intent to uphold his promise was noble, but Surya's intervention highlighted the importance of understanding the cost behind human choices. Another important takeaway is the power of empathy and sacrifice as embodied by Vishwamitra's adoption of Shunashepa. True dharma is not just about fulfilling promises, but also about protecting the innocent and upholding kindness in the face of hardship. And finally, the tale reminds us that divine intervention often guides us back to the right path when we stray. Harishchandra's realization and the redemption of Shunashepa shows us that even in most difficult situations can have compassionate resolutions. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the story of King Harishchandra, Rohita and Shunashepa. If this story touched your heart, please like, share and subscribe to Curious Breed for more such interesting tales.